This is Sibongile Ziambo with This Week in the News on Zodiac. Some of the stories we carried in the week. A grouping of labor unions in the country, MCTU, expresses disappointment with President Chakwera's decision to assent to Labor Relations Amendment Bill. Mayor admits there was little it could have done to avoid an increase in fuel prices. Malawi Electoral Commission approves 32 candidates for the October 26 parliamentary by-elections. And in sports, Football Association of Malawi releases the 2021 Airtel Top 8 calendar. We have these and minimum. Thank you for joining me. I am Sibongile Ziambo. We start with labor issues because the Malawi Congress of Trade Unions MCTU on Friday expressed its disappointment with President Chakwera's decision to assent to the Labor Relations Amendment Bill. MCTU President Charles Kumchenga told Zodiak the grouping is going to meet to strategize on the way forward, and this follows concerns that they were brought to the attention of the president after the bill passed in parliament, with the union asking the president not to assent to the bill. Kumchenga explains.
It's very unfortunate because that's what we were not expecting. And I remember when we visited the president at the State House, he clearly indicated that he is not going to sign the bill unless thorough consultations are done. And we have seen that thorough consultations have not been done, but the bill has been signed. So we are yet to find out why this has happened and who has influenced this to happen. We'll meet as MCTU, and I think we'll be guided, or the decision will come from the leadership of the MCTU and the affiliates. From that point, I think it's when we can say the decision will be ABCD. We have not yet set the date for the meeting, but obviously it will be as soon as possible.
Acting Presidential Press Secretary Anthony Kasunda confirmed that the president had assented to the bill.
Yes, it is true that the president has assented to the 4 bills which were presented to him by Parliament.
But one bill that has just been assented to by the president is the Labor Relations Bill, which sparked outrage among various quarters, including workers' unions. Were these issues looked into before the president assented to this bill?
I think you can go get more details on the nitty-gritties of the bill from the Ministry of Labour.
As you're saying that we need to engage the Labour Ministry to get more details on this issue, should we also expect the same from you? After getting clarification from the Ministry, the same will also be communicated to the public as to how exactly the issues were dealt with?
As I've said, the bills were presented to the president for his assent. It pleased the president to assent to the bills.
From labor issues to matters concerning fuel, the Malawi Energy Regulatory Authority admitted in the week that there was little it could have done to avoid an increase in fuel prices following the exhaustion of the Price Stabilization Fund. The fund is government's main mechanism for preventing effects of external shocks in local fuel prices, but Mayor CEO Henry Kachaje told reporters in Lilongwe that it could not avoid the recent hike as the fund had been depleted. Chimon Barata gave us this report.
Mera CEO Henry Kajaje has repeated the fuel price hike was inevitable. Kajaje told reporters the institution has used all revenue it generated through the Price Stabilization Fund, thus it was unable to prevent the hike of fuel prices. Kajaje says Mera owes importers close to 30.6 billion kwacha, as the body incurred under recoveries of close to 75.4 billion kwacha. But Kajaje said the body only managed to source 44.7 billion kwacha, pegging the shortfall at 30.6 billion kwacha owed to local importers. The Price Stabilization Fund is a mechanism used by MERA to avoid external shocks on local fuel prices that are ignited as a result of a spike of prices on the international market. As it is, prices have gone up on the international market, and MERA has responded to the same. During the briefing, Minister of Information Gospel Kazango reiterated to Malawians not to panic, as he says government is taking stern measures to cushion them from shocks sparked by the fuel prices hike. Kazagwa also asked transporters who have now doubled their fares, mainly minibus operators, from taking advantage of the current situation. This is Chimwemwe Paranta for Zodiac.
And in the ending week, the State House said President Lazarus Chakwera understands the pain Malawians are enduring following the hike in fuel prices. State House Director of Communications Shoni Kampondeni said the president believes the hike was inevitable. He spoke during the State House brief at Kamuzu Palace in Lilongwe, and we had this report.
Considering that fuel is a strategic commodity that affects so many aspects of Malawian society.
State House Director of Communications Shoni Kampondeni says government is exploring ways on how to cushion Malawians from economic woes they are likely to face as a result of the fuel prices hike. Among these options is to import fuel through rail transport. MERA recently announced long-term importation plans, but Kampondeni mentioned that in the long term, importation of fuel through rail transport will be at 30%. But he was quick to mention that the president does not and will not interfere in operations of the border. Press Secretary Anthony Kasunda, after the briefing, called on Malawians not to live in despair.
Let us observe our way of life. I think there are things that call for change in the way we do our things. And one of them is this: we have to prioritize in our day-to-day lives, because the president is aware that this will affect everybody.
During the briefing, it was announced that President Chakwera will on Monday launch a presidential delivery unit that will aid inspection of pledges that were made by the Tonse administration in the run-up to the elections. This is Chimwemwe Padata for Zodiac.
Meanwhile, the National Oil Company of Malawi, NOCMA, made an appeal to fuel transporters in the country against staging protests and seeking court interventions when they have issues. NOCMA's Deputy Chief Executive Officer, Helen Buluma, made the appeal in Lilongwe during a consultative meeting with the transporters on its 2020-2021 fuel supply plans and the role of the transporters. We have this report for Bawistin Kuta.
NOCMA says fuel transporters in the country should not make rash decisions to down tools and involve courts when they have issues in order to foster efficient fuel hauling and security. Deputy CEO Helen Buluma made the appeal in Lilongwe during a consultative meeting with the transporters on its fuel supply plans and the role of the transporters. Buluma said the transporters have been a difficult business partner which at times impede the importation of fuel and fuel security. She added that roundtable discussions can enhance their working relationship, which NOCMA has assured the transporters that henceforth 86% of business contracts will be awarded to local transporters if both sides agree and put things in order by ending unnecessary restrictions to the industry. One of the transporters, Gordon Luhanga, have since assured NOCMA of commitment to a win-win situation between them, with emphasis of payment in the local currency to be made within 30 days following submission of an invoice, and 86% of contracts awarded to Malawian companies as conditions, some of which NOCMA has not given an assurance yet.
When we present our petition to the appropriate people to assist us transporters, whenever we are not assisted, we then think of other ways of how they can assist us. It's not that we are difficult people.
Malawi consumes 1.7 billion liters of fuel every day, with a minimum and maximum need of $15 million and $25 million respectively as costs per month. The meeting comes against the background of the recent strike by truck drivers and transporters against, among other reasons, government awarding of contracts to foreign companies. For Zodiac, I'm Western Guta.
The Malawi Network of Older Persons Organizations, MANEPO, has called for the establishment of a special task force to address the challenges being faced by the elderly in the country. Its country director, Andrew Kavala, says currently there are no policies that addresses problems such as witchcraft-based mob justice. This came out in Mchinji when the First Lady Monica Chakwera celebrated Mother's Day with the elderly women and widows. Our reporter Winston Henry filed this report.
Country Director for MANEPO, Andrew Kavala, said government should always show commitment and political will to protect older persons in the country. He said, for instance, 20 elderly persons that were killed last year alone was a clear testimony that such people are not fully protected. He spoke in Nchinji during the celebration of Mother's Day with elderly women and widows, which was presided over by First Lady Monica Chakwera. In her remarks, Chakwera strongly condemned the continued barbaric acts towards the older persons and has since urged stakeholders to join hands in ending the vice. Speaking earlier, trustee for the Malawi Widows Association, Andrina Mchera, said widows in the country continue to face challenges, including property grabbing, despite efforts to address the same. Malawi has about 1 million older persons who are above the age of 60.
You're watching news on Zodiac. We'll be right back. Stand by.
Kufika 2063 kale wokomera aliyense achinyamata tikwira ne manja tukula Malawi achinyamata tikale pa tukula Malawi wozimira paeka Malawi wokomera aliyense Malawi 2063 kusinda dziko lathu mukomera aliyense.
Welcome back. This is Sibongile Ziambo with This Week in the News, and here on Zodiac, a look at the headlines once again. Moving on with the news, the Malawi Electoral Commission has approved 32 candidates for the October 26 parliamentary by-elections. These are 22 candidates in 3 constituencies and 10 candidates for the local government by-elections in Chimwalire Ward in Balaka. 9 candidates, including 3 women, are from Kotakuta North East constituency, 7 including 1 woman in Dedza Central East, and 6 all men in Mzimba East. John Pokayuni with the details.
The country's electoral management body has cleared 22 candidates for the October 26 parliamentary by-elections in 3 constituencies and 10 candidates in the local government by-election in Chimwalire Ward in Balaka. Among the 22 in the parliamentary race, 4 are women. Kotakota North East constituency has 9 candidates with 3 females and 6 males. They are Panji Chirambo of Assembly for Democracy and Development ADD, DPP's Silva Aisha, Chimwemwe Chidote UTM, Overstone Kondowe of MCP, Patrick Kampariro representing Afford, Aleke Kamangeni of UDF, and 3 independent candidates, Gift Mbuna, Zelita Banda, and Franklin Yonam. In the Central East constituency, 6 men and 1 woman who battle it out, including Patrick Siwinda of UTM, Joshua Malango of MCP, Elliot Kasawala DPP, and independent candidates Laudon Malingamoyo Piri, Solomon Kombakachitsa, Bonex Malunga, and Rogan Konex Kondwe. Mzimba East constituency has 6 candidates, all of them men, including Bomblaks Wachepa Piri of Afford, John Chumandimame Piri of Freedom Party, UTM's Christopher Mnyenyembe, Donex Mover of MCP, Wesley Kumwenda of DPP, and independent candidate Dr. Ruben Ngwenya. According to MEC, 73,701 people will vote in the parliamentary by-elections on the day, 18,834 from Mzimba East, 25,231 in Kotakota North East, and 29,636 in the Central East constituency. In Chimwalire Ward, 13,587 people are expected to cast their vote. For Zodiac in Kotakota, this is John Paul Kayuni.
The diocesan administrator for Lilongwe Archdiocese, Monsignor Patrick Tawali, says canonical possession of Lilongwe Archdiocese by Archbishop-elect George Tambala will take place on November 27th this year. This follows the appointment of Bishop Tambala by Pope Francis as Archbishop of Lilongwe. Meanwhile, President Lazarus Chakwera has congratulated Tambala for the appointment. And the Department of Disaster Management Affairs is reviewing the Disaster Management Act to ensure better coordination and response efforts by different players. As Malawi commemorated International Day for Disaster Management this week, it was noted that poor coordination among responders is a serious challenge in dealing with the pre- and post-disaster management. We have this report by Winston Kaimira.
Natural disasters, road accidents, and the COVID-19 epidemic have become major challenges that are claiming human lives, property, and huge sums of money in the country. President Lazarus Chakwera, for instance, floods that were triggered by Cyclone Idai killed 60 people in March 2019. In his keynote address on the commemoration of the International Day for Disaster Management, President Lazarus Chakwera said the country needs up to $1.4 billion United States dollars to recover from natural disasters. The president emphasized on the need to prevent further spread of COVID-19 and road accidents, which continue claiming human lives. He made a number of suggestions in efforts to deal with natural disasters, which include exposing contractors who construct disaster-prone structures.
I call on you to expose contractors who erect structures that are disaster-prone. And thirdly, I call on you to refrain from cultivation and construction in areas like riverbanks that are vulnerable to disasters.
Meanwhile, Commissioner for Disaster Management Affairs, Charles Kalimba, says a process is underway to review the Disaster Management Act to ensure there is no duplication of work, among other changes. Malawi Red Cross Society acting head of disaster management, Chisomo Teputepu, says lack of financial resources is a major challenge affecting efforts in disaster management in the country.
We are there to support with whatever little we have as the National Society, but also other partners. So, the resources gap is there, but bringing as partners, I think collaborating together, working together, maybe we can reduce some of those gaps in terms of the capacity. Domesticated
theme for this year's International Day for Disaster Management was International Cooperation for Disaster Resilient Malawi. For Zodiak in Lilongwe, this is Winston Kaimira.
We now go to sports news. The Football Association of Malawi has released the 2021 Airtel Top 8 calendar, including fixtures for games in the tourney. Among the fixtures, defending champions Silver Strikers will take on TN Stars, whereas Nyasa Big Bullets dates Mafport Football Club. The tournament, which will kick off on October 30 and end on December 18, makes a return after a one-year absence due to COVID-19 pandemic. Brad Kanyama filed this report.
Airtel Top 8 is making a return this month end after a one-year absence due to the COVID-19 pandemic, coupled with contractual matters. This year's edition will be participated in by 8 teams that finished in the top 8 of the 2020-21 TNM Super League. Football Association of Malawi has maintained the same format which was used in 2019, where the first phase will be on home and away basis, whereas the semi-final and the final will be in single fixtures. Reacting to the draw, analyst George Kalzamasina described the model of pairing teams in this year's edition as perfect, saying all teams have equal chances of reaching the next stage.
The draw is a very good draw in the sense that they have used a model whereby you wouldn't question anything about it. It just come out clearly because of the model. And we're expecting fireworks, and each team has got a chance of progressing because they are looking at the ones who are on top, and those are coming in the lower peaks. So this is a very good draw.
The defending champions, Silver Strikers, who host TN Stars, whereas 2020-21 TNM Super League champions Nyasa Big Bullets, who were the runners-up in the 2018 edition, will play host to Mafco FC. Mighty Wanderers will take on Moyale Barracks, while Civil Service United will kick off its campaign with Karonga United. The winner of this year's Airtel Top 8, which will be known on 18 December 2021, will walk away with 17.5 million kwacha. For Zodiac, this is Bright Kanyama.
That's about what we had time for in this edition of news. And before we go, a look at the headlines. A grouping of
Unforgettable.
mumawakonda bwanji anakubala anu nanga mwawachitira chiyani munyengo ino ya anakubala Mother's Day? Onetsani chikondi chanu kwa amayi wanu kapena mayi aliyense amene anakulerani powagulira ploti ku Airwing kapena kubunda mu mzinda wa Lilongwe. Munyengo ino ya anakubala ife a Smart Realtors Company tatsitsa mitengo ya maploti athu ndipo tsopano akuyambira pa 1.5 million kwacha bunda plots, ndipo maploti aku Airwing akuyambira pa 1.8 million kwacha pa ploti yokula 18 by 30 meters. Ndiyetu inu mutha kuyamba kulipira